Hey, what's going on, guys? So welcome back to my first video on the web development series. So in this series we will be teaching web development for absolute beginners, so you don't need to worry about any prior knowledge on web development, because in this video we will be covering everything from scratch. So in this video we will be learning about HTML5. So this is for absolute beginners, and in this video we will be only focusing on HTML5. And keep in mind that we won't be going into any of its previous versions like XHTML and stuff. And then we also won't be going into CSS, which is for the next video. So first, we need to know what HTML is. So HTML is hypertext markup language, meaning that it is used to make HTML documents and HTML files. So few starting off may think that it is a programming language, but it is not. So what HTML basically does, it basically creates a skeleton of your website. So basic layout of any website is being laid down by HTML. So a few of the fundamental things that a programming language has is, I'd say, conditional statements. So it says, if this is true, then you need to do this. So, and all this stuff are missing in HTML. So few of the examples of programming language would be like JavaScript, Python, Java, and stuff. So yeah, if you're just starting off as a web developer, or if you're just starting your journey into the web development, I'd say this is way too important than any programming language, because if you do not have the HTML semantic tags properly cleared out, so I'd say you'd have way too much problem later on. So yeah, let's move on. So this video is totally cross-platform, so even if you're on Mac, Windows, or Linux, you should be good to follow along with us. So the tools that we need, first up, we need a web browser to run our HTML file. So in this video, I will be using Firefox. So you can have Google Chrome, Safari, or Edge depending on your system. So for all the Windows users, I won't recommend you using Internet Explorer because it has way too many downsides. Next up, we need a text editor. So you can use Sublime Text, Visual Studio Code, which I will be using, Atom, Bracket, or Notepad++. But I won't recommend you guys to use Notepad, which comes in by default with Windows, because these advanced editors like Visual Studio Code, it enables you with syntax highlighting, bracket matching, auto indentations, box selections, snippets, and much more. So you have way too many facilities with these editors. So yeah, so I'll probably show you guys how to download and install this. So yeah, so for this, all you need to do is type in Visual Studio Code in Google and search, and then you should have this pop up with Visual Studio Code hyphen code editing and code refine and stuff. So you just click here and you should land onto this page, and then you can either click here, or depending on your system you can choose either you want to have the Mac, Windows, or Linux, and then you click here and you should have the download setup. So this, you save it and then just install it the normal way. Creating an HTML file. So for this, you do not need any server, like you do not need to have any domain name, hosting package, and stuff, which we'll be covering in our later videos. So for this, all you need to have a .html file extension. So like you have for all the text files, we have a .txt extension. So for the HTML file, we need only .html extension, which will be running on web browser, which I've already said earlier. And then in general, you're gonna want to name your home page, which will be basically kind of like your landing page, as index.html. So it's kind of convention to name your home page or your main root file as index. So yeah. So yeah, I have a folder created here with HTML crash course. So I just click here and then I go new text document, and I just name it as index, and then this txt would be removed and I write HTML. So yeah, for many, so I have here Mozilla Firefox symbol. So basically, if I open it, by default, it's going to open onto my Firefox browser. Okay. So for many, what might happen that when you start off, you might not have this .html extension. So for that, what you can do, you can come over here to view and click file extension. So you want to click it just like this. So you should have this .html extension. Okay, then you're gonna want to right click, and then you should be able to open it up with Visual Studio Code. Alright, so I have here on the left hand side, I have here Visual Studio Code open, and then on the right hand side, I have my Firefox browser. So I've just resized it just like that. So here in this index.html5, so let's say I write here hello world, and then what do you want to do? You want to come over here, and then you're gonna want to save it. Okay, so I don't recommend you doing this. All you can do is Control plus S. It should automatically save, so it's way efficient way. And then what you want to do, you want to come over here, and then when you reload it, you should have the hello world here. Okay, so let's say I want to write something more, so let's generate some dummy text. So in VS Code, all you need to do is write lorem and hit enter. You'd have all this dummy text, and then I use Control S to save it, and then if I reload, I should have this. Okay, so HTML tags, we use these angle brackets to write tag names or less than or greater than symbols. Okay, so here we write the tag name, and then here it ends. So basically we have a opening tag name and then a closing one, or start and end. So basically when we code, we do not write this start and end, so it's just for explanation purpose. And then in between these, we write the content. Not all the tag names have their tag endings. Just for instance, we have this break tag, which moves everything to a new line. So this break tag has no ending tag. Okay, so we can use it in this fashion, or we can also write it in this way. Okay, I believe this was used in some previous versions of HTML, but even if you write this in HTML5, it should just work fine. Alright, so this is the basic structure of your HTML layout. Right up at the top, you have doc type HTML, which is basic declaration, which says this document is of type HTML. And then you have HTML starting tag, and here it ends. And here we have an attribute, which we will be talking in a sec. So it says lang equals English, lang equals en, which means English, language English, and then we have the head tag, and inside these we have title, and then we have the body tag over here. So this head tag has nothing to do with whatever is displayed in the browser. So every time you visit a web page, so whatever you see in a web page is basically written inside this body tag. Okay, and then this title. So this title is the basic name of your tab. So Facebook has its title as Facebook, so whenever you visit Facebook, the tab name that you see is Facebook. So if you open Instagram, you should say Instagram. If you open Google, you should say Google. Okay, and then this head tag has much more stuff like links to your CSS, links to your JavaScript and stuff, and metadata, which basically contains keywords and descriptions about your web page, which is basically used by Google to get more information about your web page. Now let's move on to the heading tags. But before we move on to the heading tag, we need to know what a comment is. So in HTML, let's say you write something and then you do not want your browser to parse that, meaning you don't want your browser to display that. So for this, what you can do, let's say I have here hello, and I don't want this to be displayed over here. So what we can do, we can use this angle bracket, this exclamation sign, 2 hyphen, and then right after the content ends, 2 more hyphen, and then the closing angle bracket. And if I save, it should go on. And now you may also have noticed that whenever I save a file over here, my browser automatically reloads because I have a file extension called as live server. So what it basically does, so whenever I save a file over here, the browser automatically gets reloaded. So I do not need to go manually and reload the browser. It's way too efficient. So you can have that too. Now, since we will be talking about the heading tag, let's make this section go heading tag so that whenever you see the source code, you know where to find what. So the heading tags are of 6 types, so right from H1 through H6. So what they basically do, they basically make your text go bold. Okay, so I have another VS Code extension. So if I write here H1, the opening and closing tag should automatically generate, and if they don't, you need to type it out manually. So if I hit enter, it should automatically generate. So here I'm going to write heading tag 1. Okay, heading tag 1, and if I save, you have your heading tag 1 bold and pretty big. Okay, now let's see the H2, heading tag 2. If I save, it's smaller in size and it is less bold compared to this. Now let's quickly paste in those rest. So heading tag 3, and then H4, heading heading tag 4, H5 is heading tag 5, and then heading tag 6. Okay, now if I save, you should clearly see the difference between each of these heading tags. So this is the smallest one and this is the biggest one that you can see. And you can change the styles of each of these in CSS. So each of these can have the same size in CSS, or you can have the H6 have the size of H1. So you can change the styles in CSS, which we will be talking in our CSS crash course video. Now let's move into paragraph tags. So for paragraph, we have only one tag, P tag, and paragraph tag. Okay, so let's say in your website you have to write a block of text. So for that, you can use the paragraph tag, P tags, and then here you write whatever text you need to write. So I will be using VS Code dummy text generator. So if I write here lorem and if I hit enter, it should generate me the dummy text. And if I save, you can see the text here. So this is the basic job in HTML of the paragraph tag. And again, you can change the styles of these in CSS, which we will talk in our CSS video. Now let's say how we can make these words or these lines go bold. Okay, so previously we used to use something called as bold, which did the job, but now we can use what is called as strong. So we write here strong, and then inside here this is basically the content. So these are the contents, and let's say I want it to end over here. Okay, so these portion now will now go bold. If I save, you should have these as bold. Okay, now let's say you want some text or some lines to go italics. So for that we use emphasize, em in short. So em so these portion went italics. So this is the basic job of strong and em, and again you can change the styles of these in CSS. So the strong, you can change it to italics, you can make it go bold, get bigger in size, change the font, and yeah, much more. So yeah, all right, so now let's look into the inline and block elements. So first we need to know what inline elements are. So inline elements are the elements which only take the required space and then they do not start in a new line. So few example of those would be span, image tags, link tags, and stuff. So okay, so inline elements, they do not form the next element in a new line, so they tend to start in the same line. Okay, and then we have block elements. So block elements take up the full width available to them, and then each block element always starts in a new line. Okay, so if you have one block element and if you want to add another, so the second one would always start in the next line. Okay, so a few example of block elements would be div, heading tags, then forms, and much more. So this might seem a bit too confusing, but once we start doing few examples, things should be clear. Alright, so now we know what inline and block elements are. So the strong over here and the EM over here are the examples of inline elements, since you can clearly see that they take only the width that they need. Okay, no extra width is taken. Now what I'm gonna do, I'll just move to this paragraph over here, and then I'll take few words and I'll wrap them around a tag or the link tags. So the link tag in HTML are these a tags, and then they have what we call as attributes, which we'll talk in a sec. And then this href, and let's end it over here. Okay. Yeah. So now if I save it, you can see that these three words are now a link, and if I click, nothing happens because we have no location set to these link, so that it doesn't know where to open. Okay, but what it does, when I click to this link, it just reloads our page. Okay, so this href over here, what it holds, basically we can add the location to where we want this link to open. Okay, it can be local or it can be external. So let's say you have your website and then you have a services.html page. So what you can do, in this link you can add the services.html or whatever you may want. So you can add that, and if I save it and if I click it over here, if we had any services.html page, it would have opened that page. But since we do not have, it's going to say cannot get services.html because we do not have any services.html. Okay, now let's see an external site. So let's take Google for instance, and let's write here google.com. Now if I save and if I click it over here, it's going to take us to Google. Okay, now you may have noticed that this Google is opened in the same page where we have this link. Okay, so if we are redirecting to a external site, we do not want to leave our page. Okay, so what we basically want, we want to open the external site in a new tab. So for that, what we can do, we can use another attribute called as target, and here inside these double quotations we're going to write something called as this blank underscore blank, which means that open this link in a new tab. Now if I save and if I click this, it's going to open in a new tab. Okay, but if you are redirecting to your some page which is basically a part of your own website, you do not want this target blank because you do not want tabs opening for your same website over and over again. Okay, so if you are just opening some external site, you can basically use this, or if you're opening some local page of your own website, you do not want that. You basically want that to be open in the same page. Okay, so that's link for you. So now let's see what attributes are. So okay, so HTML attributes. So HTML attributes, you can think of them as some special powers or some special informations which are being passed to your tag where you use these. Okay, so for an instance, like the target blank, which basically told your link tags or the a tags that hey, you need to open this specific website in a new tab. Okay, so that's basically what it did. So we always use the attributes in the opening tag or the starting tag and not in the ending tag. Okay, and then these have attribute name or the key, and then the attribute value or just the value. Okay, so they appear in key value pairs. So the attribute value is written inside these double quotations. So even if you use single quotations, it will work, but it's kind of convention to use these inside double quotations. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for attributes. So as I go along in the video, I will be explaining you all the relevant and related attributes to specific tags like src or the source tag for image and much more. Alright, so now let's see what lists are in HTML. Okay, so lists basically are collection of items. So you have two types of lists in HTML. One is unordered list and the second is ordered list. So first we're going to check the unordered and then we're going to move on to the ordered one. So for the unordered list, you use these UL tags. So if I hit enter, it should generate me. And then inside these UL tags, so you write the list items. So you write li and hit enter, you have this. Okay. So if I write here as item 1 and let's copy and paste. Okay. Item here 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5. Now if I save, you should see that I have here item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5 as list, okay, as a collection. And then just right next to them, we have these bullet points, okay, so these are disk shape, so you can change the design of these in CSS. So most of the time when you see a nav bar or navigation menu in a website, so basically they are these li tags. So with lots of styling, you can have these as nav bars. And what you can also do, you can wrap these link tags with these items. So if I wrap this item 1 with a tag with href this, and if I end it over here, now if I save, you can see that now this item 1 is a list. Okay, so let's say you had an about page. So what you can do here, you can just write about, and then in the location you can write about.html. And now if I save, so what's going to happen if we had any about.html page, so when the user sees this about, so if he clicks, it should take him to the about page. But since we do not have any about.html page, so even if I click here, it says cannot get about HTML, so as we do not have. So this is how basically you navigate from one page to another using these li tags, and then there are lots of styling that goes on to transform them. So now as you can see that these are block elements, meaning that they tend to take the entire width. So this item 2 could have started from here just right after this about, but since these are block elements, they appear just next to the previous element. Okay, so in this case this about. Okay, so this is ul for you, or unordered list. Now let's see the ordered list. So basically what I'm going to do, I'll just copy this section and I'll paste, and in place of ul I'll just write ol. Now if I save, you should see the ordered list. Now the only difference that these have is that these bullet points are basically now replaced by number. So what this ordered list does, basically it generates automatically the number of items that you're going to add. So let's say I have an item 10, so let's say that is the 10th item, so it's going to say 10, and then we're going to have this period symbol, and then it's going to say item 10. So if I have another item, let's say tuna, and if I save, it's going to say that it is the 6th item. Okay, so this is ordered and unordered list. Now let's see what tables are in HTML. We have this table, which basically is kind of like a declaration that everything that you write inside has to be inside a table. And then inside here we have t head, which means table head, and then we have t body. Okay, so if you have any data that needs to be represented in a table format, so you can use these tables. to represent data in tabular format. Okay, so in the T head, this is where we write the column which is going to say which row would have what information. So let's say I have a row with name, and then another with email, or let's say class or standard. Okay, and then we have another for grade or marks, let's say. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. Let's add some spacing. Okay, and then in the body, this is where you want to add the data. So I want in the first row, I want the data to be first, the name I want to be Hank, the standard to be, I don't know, 7th, and the next, the marks to be as 67. Okay, now if I copy and if I paste these 3 times, and then here tank, let's keep the class or the standard same, and let's change the marks 34 and 15. Now if I save, you can see that these get arranged in this format. Now it looks pretty, pretty dumb, pretty stupid, or looks pretty horrible, you can see no styles, nothing, so looks too weird. So once we know CSS or the basic stylings, you can change these, and these would look way different when you know the styles, which we're going to cover in our CSS crash course. So yeah, this is table for you. Now let's see what forms are. You can type form and hit enter, and VS Code image should generate you the form. So first you can see we have an attribute action. So this again is related to server-side scripting and not to the front-end part. So basically it says that the place where you want this form data to go right after you submit this form. So let's say you have a process.php file running in the backend. So whenever you submit, it's going to go there. So this is what this action does. And then you have another attribute called as method. So this again is related to backend. So this basically means that this form data, so the basic HTTP way you want this to send, so like if you want it to go post or get. So post is generally what we use for login and sign up forms. It's secured. And this get we use generally for search part. So if you have searched something on a web page, so it's gonna go using this method. So yeah, again, these two are related to server side, so I won't be going much in this video. So there are quite a few tags that go in for this form. So first, let's see what labels are. So this has again an attribute for, which means for what you want this label to be. So let's say a name, and so I add here name, and let's have an input. So for that we have an input tag, and there are quite a few types for input. So first is we have text. So now if I save, you can see that we have this name label, and then right next to it we have this input. Okay, so this input also has a name attribute, which means that when you want to get this input from a backend, so this name, you'd use this name to grab onto this input. So you can, so if it's for name, I'll just write name so that I can specify which input I want when I do the server-side scripting. Then you have another label for email, and input. So HTML5 already has a type called as email, which has few validations. So I'll just quickly add here a BR tag so that it moves everything down. Okay, so it has quite a few validations. So if I just type in some numbers and if I move out, you can see that there is this red outline. So this is because I haven't added this at, and then I haven't written any word and then used this dot period and then used com. Now if I go out, you can see that the red border is now gone. So this is what it looks. So there are quite a few tags, few more, so I'll just paste those. So first we have this text area. So for the message, so I'll just add here another break. So let's say you want to have a space or area for the comment section, so you can have this. So you can adjust the size of this message. You can drag it and make it bigger or shrink it to smaller size, so totally adjustable, and then you can type here whatever you want. So this is text area, and then we have this select. So for this I have used label gender, and so we have this gender, and then we have this select input, and then inside we have all the options. And now so you see this value. So what it does basically, this value means the value that we want each option to have. Okay, so when I click this, you can see that we have three options here. So these options are, so this male, female, and other are what written here. Okay, and then when I click this, so the value that I want each of these to have would be this male, female, and other written in this value. Okay, so now this input number now, so it says type number. So you can see that we have this box and two buttons to control the numbers. Okay, so this is why we have this input type. And again, you can have min and max value. So min could be like 9. So if I save, so it says, you see this red outline, it means that it needs to have this 9. And so yeah, now if I go out, there is no error. So you can't basically go below 9. As you can see, I'm clicking over here but it's not moving down. So this is what this min does. And then we have another as max, so it won't go above 9. So you can have less than 9 but not more than 9. And then we have this type date, so you have this over here. So if you click here, so you can see we have a calendar, so you can select the date, month, the year. And then we have an input type password. So here, whenever you type in something, you can see that whatever you have typed now is this, gets changed to bullets, so you don't really see what you have typed in, so pretty secure. So this is input. And then lastly we have this input type submit, and then this value over here, click me. So this is a button with click me, so whatever value you have over here will be the one that you see here. So click me. So since we do not have any process.php page, so it won't go anywhere. So yeah, so there's another attribute that I want you to show. It's called as placeholder. You might have seen this is in many pages. So if I save, you can see that now this input has this grayed out text which says name. And now so if I write anything, so it just goes away. So this is basically what this placeholder does. You can just, without using this label, you can have a placeholder, so to just tell the user what they need to enter in this box and stuff. So this is pretty much the form. So you can have button outside forms, so for that you can use the button tag, and then inside these two tags you can write press me. And if I save, you can see this button which says press me. So now let's see the image tags. So for image we have only one, img, and you hit enter, you should see these two attributes. This src means source and alt means alternate. So this source is where you want the location of the image that you want to display. So I already have a bird image in my HTML crash course folder, so this, and so this alternate I'll just explain in a sec. Now if I save, you can see that we have this bird's image right over here. And so this alternate, let's say for some reason my this image doesn't load. So if I just remove one s, so it's gonna say something else, so bird.jpg, but I have no file name bird.jpg. Instead I have birds.jpg, which is this file. So it won't display this file. So let's say for some reason the image doesn't load, or it doesn't get shown on the screen, so this alternate would just display the text that you write: bird, beautiful yellow bird. Yeah, now if I save, you can see that since this doesn't get loaded, it says beautiful yellow bird. Now if this were to load, so now the alternate part is now just gone, so it only is seen when your image doesn't get loaded. Okay, so now let's say you had this birds.image in somewhere else, so let's say some other file. So what you can do, you can, so let's say it was in images slash some folder, so you can add images, then this slash, and then you can add the name of the file. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So again, we have few more attributes. You can add the width, which again you can change from CSS. We don't do stuff from HTML. But so if I write here 200 and width, oh, let's so you can see that it is now smaller. And for the height, since I haven't added, it is auto, so which means that it automatically adjusts itself. Now if I were to write here 200, you can see that it is stretched out now. And if I add here 100, it shrinks. Okay, let's keep it auto. So yeah, we are running short on time, so I have just pasted few of the quotations here. So first up, we have this block code, and then it has an attribute as site. So what it basically means, that it says that from where this text has been taken from. So in this case, it is from World Wildlife. And so I have here, so you don't really see much here, so this site isn't displayed in the page, but when you see the source code, you can see that you have the site here. And so yeah, this block code adds some padding on the left and right, unlike this paragraph tag. So yeah, that's block code. And then we have the q tags, which adds quick abbreviations, I mean quotations, my bad. So you have this HTML crash course by Hang the Tank, so it added quotations right here. So, and then we have the abbreviation tag. So I have written here WHO. So this title is World Health Organization. Now if I save here, you can see that I have this WHO here. And so now if I hover over this, and you can see that it has the World Health Organization down here. So this is abbreviation, and then I believe you have another called as address. So this is pretty much the location or the information about the author or the writer of the article. So let's say, so this is the address of this, written by John Doe, and visit us at example.com and box 564 Disneyland in USA. So if I save, you can see here this address is in italics. So yeah, that's pretty much all for the quotations. Now all that is left is the HTML5 semantic tag. So we're gonna build a simple website using the HTML semantic tags and no CSS. So let's get right into that. So yeah, first what we're gonna do, first we're gonna go and create this blog.html file right over here. You can click here, new file, and then type out here blog.html, and then you can open it on the same tab or in some other. And then so I have here the browser, so this time I'm using Chrome. So yeah, so what VS Code has, you can use exclamation and hit enter, so it should automatically generate the boiler template. And now if I save, so we have this. So the title, I want it to have blog my blogs or blog posts, whatever. Yeah, so if I save, now the tab is blog post. So for the head part of the body, what we can use a tag called as header, made in this HTML5. So this is a semantic tag for the head section of your body. So let's add here my blogs. Okay, so this is the head, and you can add here a couple more text. So we also have a tag called as small, which displays text in small fonts. So my blog website, you can see this. And then let's add a section. So inside here we're gonna have different articles, and here let's write some text. So we want each article to have few text, so this is what it is, and let's add here a link. So href, let's say post dot let's say articles dot html, something like that. And then here click to see more. Okay, so we have this. Let's add a bit of padding, or we can use the br tag. It's gonna push it a bit down. And also we can write here, we can use the address by John Doe. So who wrote this article? You can see this is written by John Doe. And now what I will be doing, I'll just copy this and I'll just paste in 2 times, and here I'll just write Sarah Doe, and here Jacob, and yeah, let's add the br tags. So right here, okay, so we need to have this article here. Even here we need the article. Okay, so now let's add the br tags. So we have one here, so we need one for this. Okay, so this is the 2 sections. So this is the article and this is the header. So let's say in your web page you want a sidebar, so for that you can use a side. So let's say it has categories, something like that, and let's add here ul and type 1, and then let's copy this. Type 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the pretty much the category here. We are okay. And now, okay, so instead of br, let's add here one more tag. I haven't showed you guys, I guess, the horizontal rule, so which is hr, which makes a line. A horizontal rule basically creates this line over here, and let's add a line right above this section. So hr, yeah. And then for the footer, we're gonna use this footer tag, which is again another semantic tag for HTML5. And here you can write h5 oh no, let's use h3 and copyright. For this, I think we use this ampersand and use copy and this. So now if I save, you can see that we have this copyright symbol over here, and you can add the date 2020, and if I save, so that's pretty much it. So this is pretty much a basic website with the help of HTML, bare HTML, and we have just seen what header tags are, what sections are, and then articles. If you have any blog page, you can use articles. You can use aside for sidebar stuff, and then footer for the footer tag. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. So this video was quite long, and so I have added the source code of this. So whatever I have written in this video, I have just added the source code down below, so you can follow along and check your code with that. So yeah,